Hey friends, today we're going to talk about this kind of unsexy word, consistency, and we're going to talk about the concept of non-negotiables. And I'm really hopeful that you're going to hear some ideas today that are going to make consistency easier for you. I think it's something that we all want in our business, especially because I think we're all here because we want consistent income. I think we know that consistent action creates consistent income, but the execution of that might be a little bit tricky. And so what we do with our clients and our masterminds is we help them to make more money. And part of an important conversation is how do we do the things consistently? So we're just going to have this tough conversation today. If you guys are watching live, make sure you say hi. I have this worksheet for you. It has some really simple exercises here and some examples here for part-time people, full-time, some part-time examples, some social media things. So if you guys want this worksheet, just type worksheet below, and I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So what is, let me know if you guys can see the screen. I'm going to turn it sideways because it looks kind of funky that way. Okay. So the way I look at consistency is there's a big difference. I like this pen. Between consistency is not the same as an aspiration, right? So this is like what I'm going to do all the time, right? No matter what. And then this is like what I want to do. And I think that a lot of people get this part messed up because they only think about what is my aspiration, right? Which is like pushing ourselves, where consistency is actually about the minimum all the time. And so here is this example, or here's this idea where like my aspiration is what I hope to do. What consistency is what I actually do. So here's the way it kind of worked out for me this week. I have an aspiration. This is like Tasha, right? Not necessarily you guys, right? I have an aspiration to publish daily. Either it's a Facebook Live or it's a written post. We're going to publish. Actually, I have an aspiration to do 2 times daily, to be honest. We publish daily, right? As kind of our consistency. So over the course of a week, you'll see usually 5 or 6 different posts that come from us. But my aspiration is published 2 times daily. Now this particular week on Monday, this doesn't happen very much. I had a long day. I actually had a 12.5-hour work day, not normal. I was part of a virtual retreat for my own professional development. And then I had a webinar with a leader. And then Tuesday, another 12 to 13-hour day because I had the same virtual retreat. And then one of my clients was in town. So I went to go see her. I don't really count that last one at work as work, but I guess it kind of is, right? These are things that I do like one day versus like that's not what I do every single week. There's a big difference. And so I think part of like the problem is that we think we want these to be the same, right? But that's not actually true. Consistency is what we do all the time. It's like the minimum, and aspiration is the maximum. Those are 2 different things. So we're going to talk about the consistency idea today. We're not going to talk about stretch goals. Different thing, right? Okay, so what happens if we are not consistent? So a few things happens. We are, and let me know if any of this relates, always stressed, right? And this is like we lack trust in ourselves, right? I don't know, I just make excuses. I don't do it. We start to have negative self-talk. Guys, if you are not your biggest fan in your business, you have a big problem, right? I don't have what it takes. I'm not consistent. I'm blah, 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 right? You have to be your biggest fan. We also get no momentum. We're always starting from a stop. And for anyone that drives a car, we know that takes the most gas. It is the hardest. It is really, really rough, right? And then later, when crap hits the fan, right, we have less to, and I'll just use the farming term, harvest. I'm a Southern California girl. I have my Ram shirt on. I've never been to a farm. That is truth right there. But I read enough Bible stories and read enough analogies and metaphor to understand this idea that we seed and then later, right, in a different time, we harvest. And so if we're not seeding consistently, and I think we don't do this because we want the result right away, then later there are no results. We are still seeding, we are still harvesting seeds that were planted 3, 4, 5 years ago. And truthfully, like I'm doing a virtual retreat for my private clients in a few weeks. And one of my friends, Amber, who's gonna be speaking there, guys, check this out. She has recruited 8,500 sales reps in the past 20 years. That is a seed I planted. That relationship is a seed I planted when I was 21 years old, right? If we are not showing up consistently, it's really difficult to harvest later. And so then people like me are like, they look lucky, right? Except I've been at this, right, since I was 20 years old, right? And if we do get consistency, right, here's this what this starts to look like. We start to get this idea of compound interest, right? This is the law of aggregate gains, right? We have 1% improvements and 1% over time, over time, over time, over time, right? Most people give up right there, but this is where we win because of the compound nature of consistency. Very much like if we had been smart and started investing $200 a month when we were 18, right? By the time I'm 40, I would have so much money, right? That's what consistency does, but we don't. We like throw a little bit here and a little bit there, and then we take time off. And then all of a sudden now I'm 41 and I'm like, oh no, right? I don't have the benefits of the compounding, right? We get momentum, we get trust, we get confidence, right? And then of course, our biz is stable and growing, right? It's better to have a business that is stably growing at 10, 15, 20, 30%, the one that fluctuates all over the board. Would you guys, I hope you guys would agree. So how do we go about getting this? What are some ideas that I think will be helpful? I think the first thing that we definitely need to do is we need to define what is a non-negotiable versus an aspiration, right? I'm going to be really honest with you. I'm beat from those 2 long days. And yesterday I had the virtual retreat again, and I'm not very motivated to do this video. I do adore you guys. I love teaching you guys. I love being here for you and hearing your success stories, but like my motivation not as high as I would like it to be. But this video here today is my non-negotiable for the week. And so it's going to happen no matter what, no matter how I feel, no matter how much I want to go on the couch and watch Space Force or walk around at 77 degrees, the slight breeze. I'm going to be here and I'm going to do it, but that's because it's a non-negotiable. So number 2, so first we have to define what's non-negotiable versus what's an aspiration. What are we going to do no matter what? This is commitment, right? We don't have to commit fully to the aspiration if the non-negotiables are tricky. We need routines, right? Routines are going to work so much better for consistency than pushes, right? I'm not saying pushes are bad necessarily, but they're not sustainable. They don't create consistency. They create a spark so that you're able to start being consistent, but pushes in and of themselves done every 90 days, they're not going to create consistency. We need to create routines. And oh, I'm not spelling that right. Let's try spelling it right. Environment. I heard this story yesterday in the retreat I was at, that if a fish gets sick, we don't yell at the fish, we check the water. I thought that was really interesting. We have to look at What is our environment? Is our environment one that creates consistency? Is it our environment one that is encouraged? Is our environment one that brings out our best, or is our environment something that brings out our worst? And here's my pro tip. This is not something that a lot of people do. And I think this is the most important one. We have to get our family on board. Our family is not a distraction from our goals. Our family is what holds us accountable to our goals. So if my kids want to go to a good college, guess what, guys? I got to be doing this video. I need to do the webinar. I need to do the coaching. Right? Like the income that I earn for my business, it's here to increase the quality of life for my family. If I want my kids to accomplish their dreams and goals and be resilient and not give up every single time that they hit a valley in their lives, then I need to be a role model for that, right? And so one of the things that I need to do if I'm going to be consistent with my business is I need to have a conversation with myself and a conversation with my family. We need to talk about what is the business for? How does the business improve our overall quality of life? We can easily get swept up in the achievement addiction of business and the recognition and all of that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, our businesses are here to increase the overall quality of life for our families. And so we need to have a conversation with our family about it, and ask them, like, do you have my back? Right? Are you with me on this journey that I'm going on, whether it's good or bad? My kids have seen when I'm really stressed about my business, and they've seen when we've won. And both things happen. But if I'm going to be consistent and work every single day, I've got to have their agreement. I had a virtual conference on Tuesday, so my kids did not go sensei at karate. But they understood because we're constantly talking about this idea, right? And my kids are on board with what I'm doing in my business. Charlie is on board with what I'm doing in my business. So if I need to take a few days off to have a retreat to plan the last half of the year, he's on board with taking a few days off of work to be home with the kids, right? We have to be able to gain agreement with family if we want to be consistent. Now, I did hear, I'm going to kill this screen. Let me know if this is helpful for you guys. I'm going to read you just a quote that I read this morning. If you guys haven't read Atomic Habits by James Clear, please do. If you're a business owner, if you're in charge of your own schedule and your own production, it's one of those must reads. But here is a quote from the newsletter that he sends out every Thursday. It says, motivation comes and goes. If you want to do something consistently, then don't pick a level of difficulty that requires great motivation. Make it easy enough and simple enough that you'll do it even when you don't feel motivated. So if you want to be consistent, choose something that you're going to be consistent with that doesn't take so much energy. And then it'll start to create motivation, which is really cool. So if it is just like, I'm going to reach out and message 2 people a day, but you can do that consistently, guys, that's 700 people in a year. That's a lot. But if you say, okay, I'm going to get super motivated and I'm going to do 25 people today, but you only do that once a month, that is less than doing 2 people per day. And I think that's something that's really helpful to understand. Now, I have a couple of worksheets for you guys if you want to check it out. So here's a couple of exercises that I do with my clients to help figure out or just to really get non-negotiables right. And then I have some examples that you guys can adjust and play with. If you guys want this worksheet, it's a 2-pager, I guess. Just type the words worksheet in the comments, and we'll get you a link so that you can download a copy of that. I hope you guys all have a great day. If you found any one sentence of this helpful, I'd love for you to drop that in the comments. And if you want the workshop, let us know. And I think that's it. I think I'm going to get on with the rest of the stuff on my to do list today. Have a great day, guys.